I wanted to just for a minute, just reflect on something. And I guess that I would use my personal experience in the moment as part of that. But what I was going to reflect on is, I did the video on the astrology of the data stop, and there was a aspect between the asteroid Varuna and the asteroid Hygeia. And Hygeia is about health and wellness, and Varuna is about justice. And I was, I've been in the hospital a couple times this week, and I'm going in as soon as I'm done with making this video and, getting ready. But in the hospital, and my dad has been getting better. He's getting better every day, so it's great. But in the back of my mind, I do know that he had, 4 of the pokey owies. And, I have to wonder. I don't wonder about it that much because I'm really good at being in acceptance at this point in my life. But this morning, I'm been presented over and over with the offer to get really angry about this whole thing with healthcare and medicine in the last 3 years. Every time I check in, I get that's not mine. But I have been visiting a hospital where there's a lot of people in different kind of illnesses, and I had to wear, masks the whole time and all this kind of stuff. So it's a big reminder of the last 3 years and what we've gone through. And it feels, because it feels really inhumane to have that covering my mouth. And I was saying to the person, can you hear me? And here's the thing. I know that there's times to stand up and stand, but I just want to see my dad, and I'm not going to deal with, if it's just the mask, I just, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that right now. Although I did wear a unofficial one. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. I did my own form of protest, I'll just say that, but it was very subtle. Okay, so basically, what I wanted to say was that it's really been shocking this morning because I've been doing a lot of studying. As I've been studying the data, I've also been listening to, spiritual videos, doing spiritual studying. And you know what I was thinking? I was thinking that if you've been, doing personal work, if you've been doing some kind of spiritual work, spiritual training, personal training, bringing focus to how you behave, what are the triggers in your life? Are you making conscious choices about how you run your thoughts, how you run your emotions? I was thinking that if I had not had so much practice doing that, and for me it's been, it's been a solid 10 years of daily, very almost daily focus. But if I had not been putting that training in, that I might be at the effect of extreme emotions. It would be easy to be at the effect of extreme emotions right now. And even having had all that training, this morning I have the offer present, and I assess if it's mine, it's not. So move along, offer. Move along, offer to be furious or angry or, want to cry out what is going on in this world. And I'm laughing, but, the thing is that, do I feel angry inside? I really don't, because I'm in loving acceptance sitting with my dad. And because of doing the work, it opens me to a new experience. Instead of having these dense and base emotions, I'm in acceptance that what is happening is in alignment with the soul level choices, whether I can perceive that or not, of everyone involved. And it's actually been a really great spiritual experience for me because I've gotten to experience my dad in ways that I haven't before, because I'm empty of any emotions. I'm empty of things from the past, that I'm empty of judgments. I'm just in the desire to, be with my dad and be there as a living soul, having a human experience, just be in my experience and have him be an experience without having to tell him what to do or being in judgment. Just, I ask him, what would you like? I just agree to whatever he says, because I'm respecting him. I'm treating him with respect. I'm not trying to force my opinions on him or anyone else in the room. And it feels so freeing. I can't even tell you what a great experience it is, how wonderful it is. It frees me to then know how I'm feeling and have these insights and awakenings and see parts of my dad's can you believe it? After all this time, I'm seeing parts of my dad's personality that I can really just appreciate. And then I'm joking around with other people. You're like Dad because you're doing this. If you're, it's just, I'm teasing, right? I'm making jokes and making fun and stuff like that, and lightening the situation. But everything, is going in a good direction, and that helps. And part of it is because of him, of his amazing energy and personality and all this other stuff. So what I'm saying is that doing the work has been worth it. Doing the work, and doing the work is not easy. It's challenging and it's hard, because, going into baser or lower emotions can be like an addiction. And the thing is that in daily life, we don't typically have the training on this. And so we learn to react in reflex based upon how we've been raised, cultural experiences, generational experiences, and on and on. But when you put a stop to that, in a loving way and an accepting way of one's own self, and you do the work to clear the energy in the field, so that what is trauma, resolves, is healed. And the whole burn experience with my hand was really big for me. I mean, I was really able to burn off and release some really, really big stuff that I didn't even know was there, despite, when you're doing the work, everything just has its own timing. It has its own timing for the experience. And the song that came to me as I was sitting here, kind of struggling between making the video and going, what? Like, if I wanted to, I don't know if I could make sense of what's happening in the world. And yet I have the trust that this is all in some kind of divine plan. And I don't trust in plans of human beings, okay? Plans of human beings are fallible. I trust that God has a greater plan. And if I look at it from the highest level possible, then I can see that the unfoldment here is in divine perfection. Because if it wasn't for the last 3 years, right, and it wasn't for just everything that's happened, I now value the quiet moments with my dad, right? Just sitting with him there. I probably place a way higher value on that than I did when I was busy and I was, really focused on work after I had not spent, the last 3 years, in this sort of compressed mode of study and research and, healing and all this stuff. And then the shock of everything we've been through and discussing it with people and friends and processing it together and with all of you, because I've been here with all of you this whole time. I started the channel. I started doing these videos 3 days before the lockdowns here in California. And part of the reason I can look at this in a broader view is because of my memories of past lifetimes. And I want to explain that for a minute, because the higher level trust in God and His plan may not make sense if I only just say it. It can sound like a platitude. But I want to give you an example. I've had many memories of different lifetimes, and I was just listening. My girlfriend Andrea has turned me on to, oh gosh, what's the name of the channel? It's the Mulligan Brothers. They have a motivational channel, and right now they have all these interviews they've done with this Shaolin monk. And I was sitting here listening to all of those videos today and in recent days, and it reminds me of, I was just crying. I just had tears come to my eyes. And it wasn't like I was crying. It was like a emotional upwelling, because in my recent, lifetimes, 2 of them, I was a monk in the 1900s. But part of me was just longing for that life of the monk where you don't care about anything in the world. You're just with your monk brothers, and you're just doing your own little thing in spirit, and you're just praying, and you're in the spiritual world, and being in a regular life where you interact with people, and you're a regular person. You're not in this like little cloistered life. It's challenging, right? It can be challenging to deal with relationships, to deal with like observing the politics going on around us, observing like you have to take a responsibility. And that's what we've been finding, right? That engaging with life in the community and our families, that stepping up and being responsible produces such better outcomes, and the outcomes we've had in the recent past decades have deteriorated, and we were unaware, and suddenly the bottom just like falls out and before our eyes, and we can see, oh my God, it was coming, and we just didn't. It's like the frog in the pot of water that's boiling. And how many times has that story been used, right? In recent past in our society, and we didn't realize we were in the pot. So that's one of the things I was looking at with my lifetimes as a monk. But what I realized is that in those lifetimes I was building stamina, right? I was building experience, and I was building stamina, and maybe I was even building experience so that I could do these videos. And so that's one way of looking at the big picture. Here's another one. Around 2011, I realized that I had these memories, and I always thought they were daydreams. And around 2011, I realized that it just shockingly hit me one day that these were past life memories, and then it very quickly, shockingly hit me that this was about Atlantis, because I suddenly remembered my last moments in Atlantis. I had these vision dreams where it was like real life. I was running around like disaster was imminent. I was trying to save the world. Right? I know a lot of you out there have this. I think that's why the whole save the world thing is big in the light workers, because a lot of us remember, if it's not Atlantis, I mean, there's been so many tragedies in human history or galactic history, and for whatever reason, we've brought them to this now moment. So, of course, I ended up realizing I had to save myself, and the world would take care of itself, because God was in control. But so healing from that was extremely difficult. It was so painful, and another tragedy that went along with it that I was healing at the same time, that, well, I'm just not going to go into the details of that, because it wasn't even on this. Well, it's very woo-woo. So I was healing from both these things at the same time. And it was so painful that eventually Archangel Michael told me to just stop it. Stop it. Stop going into this where you feel the pain that badly. And he said, because you can't hurt yourself here. You can, if, and I'm going to declare a space of secret discharge imbued by the violet flame. I'm not invoking anything here. I'm just telling a story, and I don't want to transmit anything that's not in alignment with the highest good. This is a story. And it's so funny. I saw a flash of energy right before me, before I said his name, Archangel Michael, the embodiment of divine will, the archangel of protection, the leader of God's armies, and our brother to humanity. And any human being can reach out to him. You can reach out to him if that's your desire, for assistance, for brotherhood, for guidance, for protection. So at any rate, I had come into relationship with him. And he told me, just stop it, Susan, just stop this. And, he said, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. But if you keep this up, I can't stop you from doing what you by free will choose for yourself. Right? Who wants to hear that? I have to take personal responsibility. And he was telling me, whatever happens, whatever your choice is, you are personally responsible. That's the subtext of that. So I said, fine, I will stop. Because I knew what I was trying to do, and my soul did not want that for me. And so I said, fine, I will stop, and I will forgive myself, even though I don't want to. Because it's all so horrible, right? It just seemed like it was all so horrible. And, you look at, everyone plays a role, and you look at your role and you go, how could I? Now, from the human experience, thousands of years later, right? Oh, well, how could I have thought this or that, or pursued this or that strategy in my life and done this or that? Yeah, well, we didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. It took a long time to see that. And so when I say in today's day, 2023, right, that God has a plan. Do you see the evolution of that? How we've expanded as the human race? Even given our advanced technologies at that time, which were far more extraordinary than anything public on Earth. Although we're starting to see that there are advanced technologies up in the sky. I'm not going to deny it. I see it. Don't try and tell me I don't see something. But so that's how I approach that. I'm just going to state my truth. My truth is there's stuff up there. I can see the outlines of it, and I have a whole blog where I have pictures. So after one picture, it might be a possibility, but after dozens or, I literally have tens of thousands. I may have over 100,000 photos of the sky on my various devices at this point. Anyway, so what I was saying is, that I decided to forgive myself, and I was able to forgive myself around my Atlantis memories when I finally brought myself to the bigger picture. And what I saw was that, with spiritual guidance, was that Earth and humanity, if we had survived, which we did survive, right? Earth and humanity was always going to get to this point, 2023, where we are now, this point in the galaxy, this point in the universe, this point in time, this point in evolution, whatever that is, right? Because I don't know. I don't know what that is. But we were always going to get to this point, or have the opportunity to get to this point. And if Atlantis had continued, this is just what I received. You may have received something different. But what I received is that disaster was necessary so that we could have the awakening we have today. And that many of the factors that we are dealing with today that are being called out in the great apocalypse or the great awakening or the great revelations of the truth of what is really going on in the world. And a lot of people call that clown world because everything is upside down. All those forces were present at that time, and we didn't know. I didn't know. I'm sure there were people that knew because they were involved in it. And they were probably also involved in whatever the truth-telling movement was at that time. I know that because I had a girlfriend who was in the truth-telling movement in Atlantis. And of course, I didn't listen to her, right? I didn't listen to her because I was deeply ingrained in the narrative that we had at that time. And so it's literally, it's like the same thing, different society. But even though we don't have the technology visibly publicly, the level of consciousness, the awakening of the entire population, the level of light, and let me tell you, all right, because I was a scientist then, the level of technology that is at our fingertips. I'm not talking about what everyone else is talking about. And by everyone else, I mean what you see in mass media about technology. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about technologies that many of us thought were only dreams, right? And when I realized that those technologies could exist on Earth because of what was happening, my whole life changed. Because I got it. I got that the planet was changing, the people are changing. And we have an incredible opportunity here. Because in those last moments that I had in Atlantis, I saw stretched out before me a timeline. It was vertical. Actually, you know what? It was a lot like these vertical lines in the Schumann chart. When they're, you know how see how they're all pixelated? Oh my God. I'm just having that realization right now. Oh my God. It's just like my interpretations of the Schumann. What I saw was, how all the pixels, and now on days when there's color in the chart, you'll have different sets of pixels with different colors, okay? And this is what I saw. I literally saw a straight vertical line, just like this vertical row of pixels. And right before I died, stretched out vertically in front of me, I saw like pixels of color. And each pixel, each square had an image in it. And each image was an image of what humanity was going to have to go through to get back what we lost. And now that I'm here, I see that what we are gaining is so much greater than what we had at that time. And that's the divine plan I'm talking about. That's where the trust is proven out to me. Believe it or not, humanity in terms of consciousness is in a much more awakened place than we were in Atlantis, in my view. Now, could we do cool healing and all that stuff? Yeah. It doesn't matter if the entire population, it doesn't matter if that's reserved to a super elite small group of people, right? And if the entire population is at a different level. So it's almost like it was flipped, right? That's the inside out. That's the upside down. That's the balance in divine timing. You know, today, the inside out, upside down crew is the crew that's the little tiny group of people that has all the knowledge about inside out, upside down, and all that crap that they've been doing. that the whole population is infected with by the mind virus, as Elon Musk has brought, to everyone's attention so well. And then this is my memory of it. It was a little group that just knew all this cool stuff, but it wasn't broadly. I'm just thinking it wasn't broadly known. I really don't know, because I really don't remember. I just remember what I remember. Maybe some of you know and you can, or have memories and you can add it. But this is what I saw. I saw the vertical line with all the lines straight up and down of images that it was going to be generation after generation after generation till we got here. And so even though we're sitting here and we might go, wow, what just happened the last few years is incredible. How did that happen? How could it have happened? The way that it happened is the big mass of humanity gave up their self-sovereignty. They gave up their God to a group of human beings who decided we're going to do it this way. And all of humanity just went, okay, whatever you guys want. Even though they constantly showed us what they were doing, they constantly gave talks. It was in videos that was available across social media before all the restriction on social media. It was out there. There were people talking about it, and we were like, oh man, those guys are so out there. It was out there, and we were told. And then instead of getting involved in our communities, instead of really working on keeping families together, instead of honoring and valuing human life, instead of honoring and valuing ourselves, we went on this other path. And I'm guessing in divine timing and divine perfection, we got something out of it, right? And now we're here. And that's how we got here. And in divine perfection, something better is coming. And everybody keeps talking about be prepared for what's coming. Like these, I don't know what's going on when I'm making this video. There's all this voting going on in the U.S. Congress. And everybody's like, how long is the voting going to go on? And oh my God, what's going to happen? And what could it mean? And all this stuff. We've got to get detached from this kind of stuff, because that's where we have to care while being detached. It's a different way of handling the self, and we don't have to. You don't have to do anything. But living life this way, in the example of how it's going with my dad, it dramatically changes outcomes, because it then invites, when you're in that calm and centered place, you're connected with divinity, because that's the only way I could get there. Reliance on God within. The only way I could get to this calm, centered place, because this is the nature of who we are that's been covered over. And as we start to have that realization, right, of how it's supposed to be, right, here's divinity. Here's the human, right? Here's the monk. And here's reality, Schumann Resonance, the expression of reality on the spectrogram for us on a piece of paper for us to see, or on the computer screen. Well, it's not about the separation of any of these things. This, and this guy, this human, this is all one. And we're even one with the earth. So there's 4 things here, right? Because the body, ask any mother, right? Ask any parent, any mother or father who goes through the organic process of making a baby. And one of the first things that the person will say, and that's what the woman in the room, one of the nurses was, well, actually a bunch of the nurses are pregnant, but the nurse was saying to me, it's so amazing to think there is a living baby inside of me right now, and it's just ready to come out and be in the world. We are of this planet. We're made of the material of this planet, right? So we have the human body that comes from the material of the planet that's using the sun to represent the soul and the light of God, right? That's animated by life, the light of God, the light of the soul. And that creates a reality that we see on our screen. And we're seeing it as the Schumann resonance. And I do believe that that's what the Schumann represents. All the frequency ranges are different slices of human reality. And if you could turn it into a picture, like on the movie The Matrix with all the green little letters on the screen, it would look like, here's a human walking. It would look like the girl in the red dress. It would look like, me sitting here speaking into a microphone. It would look like you listening on the computer or your phone, living your life, doing your day-to-day. So what's the message? Trust in God. If you trust in the divine, however you do that, whatever your practice is, I encourage you to develop a self-reflective inner transparency, the willingness to take on the challenge of doing the hard work, the willingness to take responsibility out in the world, right? And you don't have to be a monk sitting by yourself for hours to do this. You can do this in the day-to-day living life now. I know because I have done it, right? And you have done it. We're all doing it to some extent. We're bringing spirituality into the living life. Okay, we're living according to values and principles. We're engaging and taking responsibility. And we're connecting with God when we do that. We're connecting with the divinity that we are on the planet that we live in the body we inhabit, engaging with the reality that is ours to create. And so when people worry about the future, I don't worry about the future, because the light within me says, it's going to be amazing. I'm here right now talking to you because of my deep and overwhelming sense of what is possible. That's why I'm still here. That's what motivates me. And listen, I put out that video, Rescued by an Angel. And I've been thinking about it a lot the last few days, especially with the craziness now in the politics again, right? It's always something. And I was thinking, if the world was going to go to heck in a handbasket, why did God in the dream tell me this? That my soul, she wants me to be joyful. She wants me to lead a joyous life. And that's what she saw for me. And if everything was crap, how could that be possible? So am I going to trust the voices in the world telling me to lose faith, telling me everything sucks, telling me that there's overwhelming challenges? No, thank you. I just let it walk on by. Oh, I see it. Oh, yeah, there's that thing that I'm not going to engage with because it's not a part of my reality. Let it walk by. And you know what? Just like the rotary dial telephone, just like the milkman who used to deliver to the house, right? Just like the ice box, those things will pass us by when we focus on what our divine nature in co-creation as a living human being, when we focus on the desires of our dreams, the desires of our heart and the dreams of our soul, and know and trust that we can bring those into reality. We can live them in this life now, no matter what the television news says, or anyone else, or even no matter what I say. I'm just sharing my experience with you and hoping that it's somehow helpful or beneficial. But the fact is I don't share it to create anything specific in anyone else, because that would be an attachment. I create it from a detached state of being where I share because it's my joy to do this, and because it gives me joy, and it's what my soul seems to guide me to. Inexplicably at times, I sit here and wonder, what am I doing sometimes? What is going on with this? But it doesn't really matter what the big plan is. I'm enjoying it and I'm in joy. And I get the sense, keep going. Stay strong, keep going.